The House should know the background to the decision that the company announced yesterday. In July 2016, the allocation decision for the next model of the Nissan Qashqai was about to be made, and it was set to be awarded to a European plant other than Sunderland. Nissan had located in Sunderland in 1986, having been persuaded by Mrs Thatcher that the combination of British engineering excellence and tariff-free access to the European Union made Britain an ideal location. So it proved, and the Sunderland plant grew to be the largest car plant in the history of Britain. The firm invested nearly £3.7 billion into it and currently employs around 7,000 people, with approximately another 35,000 in the supply chain. The prospect of losing easy access to the EU market was the principal concern of the company at the time. It was clear that if Sunderland lost the Qashqai, which accounted for over half of its production, mostly for export, the medium and long-term prospects for a plant losing scale would be bleak. Determined not to see the 30-year success of this plant come to an end, we set out over the coming months a strong case for backing Sunderland. This centred on 4 areas, all of which were about highlighting the success of and our strategy for the British motor industry. The first was that we would continue our successful and long-standing support for the competitiveness of the automotive sector, which has been available to all firms for skills and training the local workforce and for innovation. The Regional Growth Fund has supported over 30,000 companies, large, medium and small, since 2010, with £2.6 billion of public support. £335 million of that has been invested in the automotive sector via the Regional Growth Fund since 2010. All proposals are independently assessed by the Industrial Development Advisory Board and are subject to UK and EU rules. In 2016, Nissan initially considered applying for a total of up to £80 million in support over 9 years for skills training, R&D and environmental improvements, and were eventually awarded £61 million, around £7 million a year over 9 years. The second commitment was that we would work with the automotive sector to ensure that more of the supply chain could locate in the UK and in close proximity to manufacturing sites. Since 2016, as many honourable members know, our automotive sector deal has established with the industry an ambitious programme to do just that. The third was that we would make a strong commitment to research and development, in particular to the development of new battery technology and its deployment, and in connected and autonomous vehicles. Our joint industry-government £1 billion Advanced Propulsion Centre R&D programme, along with our £250 million Faraday Challenge, is putting Britain at the leading edge of battery technology and manufacturing, and we've introduced test beds for autonomous vehicles across the country. Indeed, the longest autonomous car journey in the UK will take place in November this year from Nissan sites at Cranfield to Sunderland, covering over 200 miles on public roads. And the fourth commitment was that in our negotiations to leave the EU, we would always emphasise the very strong common ground that exists between the UK and other EU member states and pursue a deal that can ensure free trade unencumbered by tariffs or other impediments. These commitments proved persuasive, as they have subsequently for investments by Toyota at Burniston, BMW Mini at Oxford, PSA at Luton, and indeed every single competitive allocation decision taken since 2016 in this industry has gone to Britain. Although discussions had been around the Qashqai, towards the end of the discussions, Nissan proposed to add a further model, currently produced only in Japan, the X-Trail to Sunderland. And on the 27th of October 2016, Nissan announced that both the Qashqai and the X-Trail would be built in Sunderland, securing the plant's future and adding 741 new jobs. Last Friday, I was informed by Nissan that following a global review of its capital investment, future capital was needed to accelerate the shift in Europe from conventional to lower emission vehicles. The Qashqai and the Duke, made in Sunderland, will in future have petrol and plug-in hybrid variants made in Sunderland. As a result, more capital will be invested in Sunderland than was originally planned in 2016. But this was accompanied by a decision to maintain Japan as the sole production location for the X-Trail model, rather than to establish a new production line in Europe. The consequence of this is that the existing jobs in Sunderland will be maintained by the increased investment, but the 741 additional jobs that would have been created in Sunderland will now not take place. Nissan confirmed that the production of the new Qashqai and Duke and Leaf will continue at Sunderland, and there are no implications of the decision for existing jobs at the plant. They also pointed out what they've said consistently since 2016, that the risk of a no-deal Brexit is a source of damaging uncertainty. And while I'm pleased that the decision taken in 2016 to build the Qashqai and to secure the Sunderland plant is unchanged, it's deeply disappointing to me and to the workforce that the extra jobs that would have come from the X-Trail will no longer be available. I told the House that I would publish the correspondence with Nissan at the time of their original decision as soon as the company advised that it was no longer commercially sensitive. I've previously shared it with the then chair of the Bayes Select Committee, but I've agreed with Nissan that it's reasonable to publish it in full today, and colleagues will see that it sets out exactly what I told the House in October 2016. Grant support for training and development and environmental improvements were applied for and approved by the Industrial Development Advisory Board on the basis that both the Qashqai and the X-Trail models will be built in Sunderland. And so, given yesterday's announcement, if the company seeks to participate in these industry funding schemes, as I hope and expect that it will, the company will submit new applications in the standard way and undergo a process of independent assessment. Mr. Speaker, while I'm disappointed that the new jobs associated with the X-Trail will not now come to Sunderland, I'm pleased that the plant will benefit from substantial new investment in the existing models, and that the decision to continue with the vital investment in the Qashqai, Leaf and Duke and the jobs associated with them is unaffected. While the decision was made on broader business grounds, Nissan commented on the need for us to come together and to resolve the question of our future trading relationship with the EU. I believe their advice should be listened to and acted upon, so that our automotive industry, which is undergoing more change through innovation in the decade ahead than it has for most of the last century in areas like battery technology and artificial intelligence, can seize the opportunities for Britain to be a world leader in state-of-the-art car making, providing great jobs and careers for hundreds of thousands of people across our country during the years ahead. I commend the statement to the House.